great way to start off a review. Choking on my saliva. Testing the microphone. Hopefully it's working. I think I'm in focus. Let me sit right here. This is where I'm gonna be. I'm talking blah 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 blah. Book, book, book. Stuff, stuff, stuff. Princesses. Yay! Woo! Stuff. Okay. Okay. So, I am back again with another book review of a book I read, and it was another good book, as they all seem to be so far. This book I actually read because perhaps you've heard of those Ever After High stories that are kind of circulating around right now and popular, and I think there's a little TV show or whatever. My younger sisters are fond of those stories and have told me quite a bit about them, and because they like to read that kind of stuff, I'm interested in what they're interested in. And I have a story in mind for, I think, that audience type, and so I was just curious of what that demographic writing style is like in our modern age. And again, because my little sisters liked it and they recommended it, I looked up a book and found a book that I actually didn't intend to use as a review, but here we are. I read the book Princess Academy, Palace of Stone by Shannon Hale. So I read this book, and again, it's targeted for, you know, middle schoolers or so, I believe, but I was taken aback by how well written it was, and like I said, I didn't intend to use this as a book review, but I was so impressed by the story and the writing of Miss Hale that I feel like it deserves notice. I was surprised by how good it is, and I am not ashamed to say that I fully read this book and in a way couldn't put it down, and it was really good. The story was surprisingly intriguing. Basically, it's about this young girl named Miri, and she is given an opportunity with a group of other girls from her small mountain village to go to this big city that they've never seen and only dreamed of ever getting to actually go to. And they are chosen to be the princess's kind of ladies-in-waiting. And so they go, and the princess is actually a friend of Miri's, and she, while there, gets to attend a school, which is something they don't have in their small town, and she starts growing in her education, and through that she starts uncovering a bunch of plots in the kingdom. And there's just a bunch of really interesting topics to bring up for that age group. I thought it's a really good way to introduce young people into different questions of politics, ethics, morals, and it's all a positive influence. This isn't written to sway young readers one way or another. It's to open their eyes to the possibilities in a positive way and look at these kind of adult issues so they can start developing their own opinions. And I thought it was really well orchestrated to bring young people into that world. And the way she uses this kingdom, which has different classes of, you know, like there's the peasants, and then there's the high society, and there's everyone in between. And Miri kind of comes from both worlds now, being from a small peasant village and now being chosen to attend the princess. She's seeing both sides and how the government works, and she has to start developing her own opinions and doing what she feels is right in situations, not for herself, not just for herself, but for her friends, for her family, and for the overall community. And she starts developing courage to take her questions and her fears and all these things that she starts discovering to higher authorities, just to see what can be done. I thought it was really good. I thought that was a great way, using a kingdom to bring children into that kind of mindset, because it's something we all have to deal with eventually. You know, whether it's voting for president, or even local government, or even just stuff of like, what do you want to learn about? You don't have to learn stuff that's just being taught to you at school. You can go out and read a book. Go to a library and find something. What are you interested in? Ask questions and read about it. And that's what Miri does. She just starts growing and learning, and I think that's a really positive influence, especially for young girl readers, because she's just a normal girl growing, especially at that young teenage age, where there's so much growing to do in your personality and in your own head and just all that stuff. I thought it was a really great story. Aside from that, it teaches young readers a lot about personal things as well, and again in a very positive way. Miri's character, just with everything that's going on in the story, she has to start making decisions and seeing things in a new light in respect to her her beliefs and how she was raised, and her family's limited education and now learning new things, but also with her friendships. And there's a boy she likes, so she starts learning the difference between infatuation and what love is. Loyalty, doing the right thing even when it's hard, and owning up to your mistakes. That was something I really appreciated, because Miri, the character, she does make mistakes, but even though they're difficult situations, she owns up to them. She realizes what the mistake was, she owns up to it, and she seeks to make it right. It's not brushed under the rug. It's not one of the situations where she has to be the tough, strong female lead and it just doesn't matter and she's just gonna go, I don't know, do something else destructive or whatever. The point is that when you're a 14-year-old girl or whatever, and you make a mistake, that can feel like the world is coming down on you. But knowing that it's okay to find the strength to own up to your mistake and seek to make it right, or be humble enough to realize that it was something that needs to be fixed. I think that's a great influence, and that's not something our society always encourages. So I thought that was very well done in this story. And it's all taught in really creative, fun, interesting ways that keeps you reading it. You want to keep reading it. I mean, I did. I kept reading it, and I thought it was really great. Miri learns a lot about selflessness too, which is also something that's not super appreciated in our society all the time. Just being selfless. Like, there are times where Miri sacrificed what... Love! She's playing in the curtains. So if you see them move, it's my cat. Miri has to make sacrifices, and sometimes they're not always fun, of something she wanted to do or something that she thought was best for the sake of her friend or her family, and just putting others before herself. And I think that's a really sweet, awesome message. Something I didn't realize about this book when I picked it up is that it is, in fact, a sequel. This book is a sequel to the original story, which is just titled Princess Academy. This is Princess Academy, Palace of Stone. Okay? So, I didn't realize that until several chapters in. However, this book reads very well as a standalone book. I didn't feel like I was missing that much information, and I'm sure there are some things in the original that might have been helpful to know, but as far as just reading this on its own, I got all the information. I got everything I needed to know without feeling left in the dark. So, just so you know, it is a sequel. If you're interested, you might want to read the first one first. I haven't read it, so I can't tell you about it, but if it's as good as this one, then go for it. Something else I appreciated about this book was the climax didn't happen like in the last 2 chapters of the book. The climax happened about 3/4 of the way through the book, And then the last few chapters were dedicated to cleanup or closure or tying loose ends, just all that kind of stuff. So you have this big climax and everything just unfolds and you realize what's going on, but after that you get complete closure and you see exactly how everything was cleaned up and tidied up and what the next steps were for the characters who had all grown through the story. Each character had really good development, and seeing those last chapters and seeing how far they've come from where they originally started, like, I really appreciated that those last chapters were just taking their time to let us know that this is what's next. There's been several books that haven't done that a lot, so you have this climax and it's like, oh, and then they ran away and that was kind of it, and they took an adventure, but I'm not going to tell you about it in the end. And you're like, well, okay, I guess that's that. But this one, like, it lets you be a part of their continual growth. I thought that was really great. I really enjoyed that about this story. It answered all those questions in detail that you kind of develop throughout reading the book. In conclusion, this book kept me interested the whole time. It proves to be just enough of a challenge for young readers to where they can understand everything that's happening, but they can still develop their own questions and intrigues while reading about it. And I think that will inspire them to want to know more about things mentioned before, like mistakes and growing up and friendships, loyalty, ethics, morals, all this kind of stuff that just are a big part of growing up as a young reader. I think this book will want kids to keep asking questions and keep reading. And I love that. If you can write a book that's good enough to make kids want to read more, there needs to be more of that in the world for sure. And that's awesome. That's talented writing. So, Miss Shannon Hale, I salute you for your work. I love it. I thought it was wonderful. And I will unashamedly read more of your books. That's all I've got for now. It was a good book and I highly recommend it, especially for young readers. And if you're not a young reader, go for it anyway. It's good. I think I'm just babbling now. Anyway, I'm fine. It was good. Hi, Fluff. Come here, kitten. Want to be in the video? You're so pretty. You smell good.